Well, have you heard that the road to communicating more effectively starts right now? You have now. I'm Deb Courtney. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So glad you're here today. That's the topic I want to talk about today, is how I have taken communicating to other individuals and what I have learned over the years to effectively be a better communicator. Now, it's a process and it takes time. However, if you take the time and diligently pay attention to how to communicate to any given individual, it'll be a win-win situation in your life. The first thing that I learned in communicating effectively, and I really want to point that out, the word effectively. Now, I have done this and it doesn't work, is just let anything fall in your brain and you blab it out to somebody, and then you live in regret and wished you hadn't said it, and wish you could do it over again, and on and on and on and on. I don't know if anybody has done that, but I've done that, got the t-shirt and give it away. It never worked for me, okay? It just never did. So instead of just letting anything fall out of the sky in my brain and blab out a bunch of words to somebody that they could not comprehend, they did not understand, they couldn't deal with what I was trying to get across to them, whether it was personal, whether it had to do with business, communicating, or anything else, I had to put in place certain techniques that I learned over the years that would help me to be a better and effective communicator. And one of the things that I did was I studied personalities. I studied how people were wired, people's personalities, and what words to use in regards to communicating to them. Now, there will be times in your life when that won't work. And a lot of times, the one that I'm really thinking about is the time that there are some people you can't communicate to. And the reason for that is they won't talk to you. They won't let you. They just slam the door on you. Nope, you're not going any further than this. I've got my mind made up. This is how I am. This is the way it's going to be. Like it or lump it. There are some people that are like that, and you may have encountered them. If you haven't, any length of time on the face of this earth, give it time. You probably will. So these are some tips that I've learned, some strategies that I have learned during the years that maybe will help you in your communicating more effectively too. And see, you have different communication for, like, family members, a parent. You communicate differently to a child. You have different communications with your spouse, your boss, friends, relatives, other relatives, things of that nature. So communication is different to each individual that you're talking to. So the first thing I would say is this: ask the right questions. You know, that seems to be probably the number one thing that has really rules the world. Somebody asked the question, how do we get electricity? How can I turn a candle into electricity? And so that's how that process started. Or the internet, the computers that we have now, the iPhones that we have now. We didn't always have all these things. And so somebody asked the question, whether to someone or to themselves, how can I? How can we? What is the steps to take? And on and on and on, in order to get to where you need to go, whatever it is, whether it has to do with personal or professional, asking the right question. The next thing I would say is say everything you need to, withholding nothing. Now, I'm not saying just say any words that drop down in your brain and go blab it out. That's not what I'm saying. Have I done that? Yes. Did it work? No. What I'm saying is that when I would understood the person, when I understood their temperament, how they're wired, their personality, and all how that looked like, then I could pick and choose the words that would work in regards to having an effective communication with them, and an effective time with them, and talking about how we could do this or do that, whatever the process was, whatever the problem was, whatever the issue was, whatever the circumstance was, whether it was a family situation or a professional situation. So when I took the necessary steps to learn that, and let me tell you this right now, you will have people that you may or may not come across in your life that will not talk to you at all. They have a made-up mind. There's no need to talk to you about a certain topic. They have slammed the door on that situation. That's it. They're not going to rehash it. They're not going to re-go over it. Some people, the best way you can communicate with them is to say nothing at all. Sometimes you just have to let things go. Let words go. Just let it slide. Just let it go right over your head. And just hopefully give them space and time to see where they're at. And sometimes people will say, you know what, I said that X amount of years ago, and I'm sorry. And forgive people. I've done the same thing. I apologize for saying that. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to say. If you've messed up and you're sorry, tell them. Say, hey, look, I'm sorry. I said something wrong. I did something wrong, and it hurt you, and I see that it did. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I won't do it no more. You have to communicate and have the conversations. Some people will let you. Some people won't. Sometimes you just have to wait. I have experience where I waited about 15 years for somebody to say something to me. And it's okay. So just understand that if it's good to say what you need, everything that you need, and withhold nothing, but you have to be mindful of the right words that you need to use in order to communicate that to a certain person's temperament. And when I learned that, then that helped me. The next thing is I want to say is motivate others better by speaking in a language that they understand. A lot of times when an individual comes to me or we're talking about something, I say, let me ask you a question. That's the first thing I said, ask the right question. And so when I ask them the question, after we've talked a little bit, and I say, well, let me ask you a question. Then when I don't look for something to put them down, I look for something for them to look at. Well, have you thought about looking at it this way? Have you thought about looking at it that way? I like to stay in that area of exploration and discovery questions. I don't do any other kind of questions other than those questions. Simply because, number one, they're not giving condemnation on the individual. You don't want that. It doesn't make anybody feel bad. So once you stay in those kinds of questioning patterns, then sometimes a lot of people can process whatever it is whatever it is they're dealing with by talking about it. And you've given them insight. Well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you looked at this? Have you contacted this? And so sometimes just doing that dance, what I would call communication dance with the individual, sometimes that helps. And they say, you know what, I had never thought about it like that. Well, I think I'll check that out. That's a good point. You help me on that. So that's kind of where I go to basically in communicating with people and it motivates them. I don't give them the answer. Don't give anybody the answer. I want to motivate them to find their own answer that works for them. And when you live and work and communicate in that type of environment, it's more of a win-win. So that works for me. Be able to ask more of what you want. Okay, that's another thing in communicating. Okay, decide what it is what you want, and then communicate to the other individual what it is you want. Now, there'll probably a process. Okay, this is what you want. Then how do you suggest we go about getting it? Or how do you suggest about going about getting it? And then you have that communication. And when you come to a win-win, or somebody, and sometimes you might have to revisit this same issue, the same circumstance, this same problem, whatever it is, more than one time, because it might be different steps at different times that you can work through it, that you can come to the end of it, and it's a done deal, and you have gotten what you've needed in regards to that instance, in regards to that person, in regards to whatever it is. So these are things that I have learned in communicating effectively. I want to say effectively to people that will bring to me and them a win-win situation. So, well, I'm glad you found me. I'm glad I found you. This, by all means, I want to say it's not all there is. There are a lot of other things that you can take a look at that will help you be a more effective communicator. Do your due diligence. Find out what that is and what helps you to make it a win-win for you and them. I'll see you again next week. Bye.